a pretty awesome pedal that I just recently picked up by a company based out of Maryland called CMC Effects. Now, this guy, he goes by the name of Chris. He doesn't really have any like social media or anything like cool to show you his work. His work is kind of like underground, weird word of mouth stuff. But I found his reverb page. One day I was just scrolling through various fuzz pedals, and there was the buzz around effect that came up on his page. And outside of the buzz around, he also had like a couple other interesting clones. One of them was a Tone Bender MK1. I know on YouTube there's a demo for that. And then there's also, he also had a Big Muff clone as well on his page. So I hit him up because he's like, oh, well, I do custom builds. And when he said I do custom builds, basically he, I was like, I inquired. I was like, hey, like, I have this custom build idea for this pedal. Basically, I wanted to combine a Big Muff and a Super Fuzz in one enclosure. I wanted to have different diode and clipping options, and I also wanted to be order switchable. So basically, you can either run the Big Muff one way, or you can run the Super Fuzz one way. And through tried and true testing, and this is probably going to be a cut, he came up with this thing. This is the CMC Effects SuperMuff. So it is a Univox Super Fuzz on one side with either a silicone diode, a germanium diode option, and then or a silicone diode option, and then you have a Ramset Big Muff. So this is a V2 Big Muff with 3 different diode clipping options, which are pretty rad. And there's an order switch, so you can either flip it to the Big Muff side, or you can flip it to the Super Muff side, the Super Fuzz side. But I named it the Super Muff because, you know, Mudhoney kind of trademarked the name Big Muff Super Fuzz, but this is a Big Muff Super Fuzz, so I figured why not chop one name and add the other, Super Muff. So this thing is pretty cool. It's very, very versatile. This is probably one of the few fuzz pedals that I have that can do a lot of different tones from different decades, different genres of music, different styles. This thing can, any sort of fuzz tone you can think of, it can dial it in pretty well. And I love the fact that, you know, with this switch alone, the order switch, you can get a crazy, crazy difference in sound. So let's plug it in. Let's hear how it sounds, and hopefully you guys will be interested in hitting up Mr. Chris over at CMC to build you one of these things. And at the end of the video, you know, of course, I'll put a reverb link so you can find them and stuff like that. But real talk, I am surprised for the quality and for the amount of money I paid, and I'll tell you guys how much I paid for this at the end of the video too. So I want you to hear it first. So right now, what I got going on in terms of amp, I'm running a very clean amp. I'm running a Boss Katana KT50 Mark I. So this is one of the very first Boss Katanas. It has a little bit, it's more natural sounding. It's definitely solid state. So I'm running a very clean amp, but it's set to a low wattage. It's set to 25 watts. And also in terms of rig, I'm juicing this thing with an Earthquaker Gray channel. So Earthquaker Gray channel is it's basically 2 Diode preamp 250s and 1 enclosure. And the way I got it set is I got it pretty much set to FET preamp. So it's going to give it a nice, you know, kind of tube screamery type of overdrive pushing this pedal. But I'll play the pedal with just each effect by itself, and I'll play it without the gray channel kind of juicing the signal. So here we go. Give me a second. Alright, and then got this puppy set at 25 watts. Gonna unleash the standby. Get that audio record. settings are I got the tone at about 2 o'clock. I got the volume a little bit past 9, so between 9 and 10. I got the sustain right about at 1 o'clock, and then they have a shape knob. So shape is probably like a bit of a parametric, so it's kind of determining where it's going to truly sit in the mix. I got the shape at around 3 o'clock, and that's how you get that nice kind of musical sustain. About the V2 circuit, the Ram's head circuit, is that it is very, very, very musical. So basically, if you're playing chords, you can hear the chord definition. So let's play a nice low open E chord. It also has the right amount of sizzle. Like when you hear that thing go, you're just like, woof. It's nice and it's sizzly. Alright, so let's talk about this diode clipping switch that is built into this thing. This thing has a diode clipping switch. And I bet you guys are like, well, what's a diode? Or, yeah, we get it. You can switch to chip. Basically, a diode is a little tiny, it's either a capacitor or a chip that controls that actually changes the sound of the effect. So it can make a fuzz sound either more harsh, more warmer, it can give it more sustain, it can also even boost the signal. So right now it's set to germanium, which is a really warm type of sound. So I'm going to set this thing to LED. So basically the LED tone is the loudest setting you can make this thing. This is the true big muff sound, which is silicone. So silicone is that there's a lot of harmonics going on. So we mess with the big muff. Now it's time for the super fuzz. So currently right now the super fuzz, I'm gonna kind of tweak the settings a bit. I'm gonna decrease the balance a wee bit, and then I'm gonna decrease the expander a wee bit. But the knob configuration is just like super fuzz. So there's a set of sustain and volume, or fuzz and volume. There's balance and expander. So expander is the fuzz setting, and balance is the volume. So let's hear the super fuzz. So. The super fuzz, and it's currently set to silicone. So that's the loud. There's only silicone and germanium on the super fuzz side, which is actually kind of simpler. I don't know how it would sound if it did have an LED diode, but let's switch it to germanium. And obviously there's going to be a huge volume difference, so I'm just going to tweak the amp a bit, just a little bit, and of course the gray channel is still on, it's still juicing it up, so modulated, kind of like out of phasey, weird sounding tone. So the Ram's Head and the Super Fuzz are both solid. Now let's talk about the order switch. Right now the order switch is going towards the Super Fuzz side. So if I stack them now, or if I turn both of them on at the same time, the Super Fuzz is first, the Big Muff is second. So I'm going to make sure I'm going to set them to both to their true settings. So Super Fuzz is going to be germanium, Big Muff is going to be silicone. So let's... So that's both of them on at the same time with the Super Fuzz first. I'm going to flip that switch the opposite way and we're going to hear how it sounds with Big Muff hitting it first. So I'm going to turn them on again at the same time. So yeah, that's Dinosaur Jr.'s Raisins. So that song is Ram's Head Big Muff. That's how this thing sounds. It's awesome. It's great. It's a affordable pedal. I think after shipping, it costs somewhere around $193. So after tax and shipping. So you get great boutique quality, great boutique style build for that price. This thing is built like a tank. It's a metal enclosure. He has a lot of different colors too. So if you don't get it the way you want it, he'll definitely make you happy. Other than that, yeah, it's a awesome pedal. So check it out. CMC Effects, SuperMuff. Go buy one.